Welcome back to the Angry Man Podcast with Jason and Greg. So, man, Tim Bradley has just been on fire here recently. And Sean Zattel, shout out to him for getting this content from Tim Bradley in some of these interviews. And I want to specifically focus in on something that Tim Bradley said in an interview that was released yesterday. Now, we were talking about this last week in the Discord. We talked about this last week on the channel. And there was so much pushback on me, not only in the comment section, but also in the Discord. So I want to play this clip from Tim Bradley, and then I'm going to follow it up with something else. And then I'm going to react to that because it's so interesting that Tim said this. And Jason sent it over to me yesterday. I was traveling yesterday, unfortunately, so I couldn't do anything. But check this out. It's very interesting. So this is from Sean Zattel.
I could see a path in a way that I believe that Tank can catch him and hurt him and knock him out. You know, I'm not gonna give that away. However, I can see the path. I can see a path, man. Well, I could talk about it. I mean, it's the fact that he's not, when you put heat on him, he's so damn defensive that he don't throw punches. There's nothing in return. So you're able to mount an attack on him and let your hands go, and you're not going to receive any counter punches coming back. You know, I think Tank sees that. I think Tank knows that. So as long as those counters don't come, Tank's gonna be in there. You know, as long as he's not willing to risk getting caught, Tank's gonna be in the fight. Period. And if he starts moving back on his bicycle and Tank's coming forward, Tank gonna be the aggressor. That's what's gonna happen. So I can see Tank actually winning a fight now when I thought that he couldn't, on the scorecards, and not knocking out Shakur because of this. You know, the inactivity behind his defense could be his downfall.
That's what we got to do, right? We got to keep an open mind, fight to fight. Things change. Guys show different wrinkles in their games or lack thereof.
Yeah, I agree with that. Again, styles make fights. Tank's a southpaw. It's a bit different. I actually noticed something with Shakur. He don't have a whole lot of slip counters, man. You know, you would think a guy so slick, he'd be, you know, slipping his head off to the side and you know, countering, you know, allowing the guy to come in the range and come into his space, but then countering the crap out of him. He doesn't. He just uses that step back and pulls, you know, mainly.
So he's got the pull counter, though, but not the slip.
Pull counter, yeah, he got the pull.
So that was Tim Bradley talking about Shakur Stevenson. Now, we talked about this in the Discord, and they were telling me, oh, Greg, you don't know boxing. You're not breaking down the boxing. He does do counters. He does do this. He does do that. He does do this. And it's so interesting that people get one fight right in Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence, and they believe that somehow they know more about boxing than you. Because in reality, you have a 50-50 chance to get any fight correct. And what I'm more interested in how did you get to your conclusion? How did you arrive at the conclusion that a fighter was going to win? Because just because you arrived at the right result doesn't mean that you actually knew why he would win, because he could have won in quite a different way, right? So it's very interesting. But I want to follow this up very quickly with one other thing here real quick. This is me. Now, this interview came out from Tim Bradley yesterday. This is me from almost a week ago. But those last four, he had them, right? I thought Shakur, and I've said this on multiple occasions, I'm going to stand by this. I'm going to stand by it. Shakur Stevenson does not slip shots. He does not. Gervonta Davis is correct. He can say all that shit about being you're casual. You're casual. He's not a casual. Shakur Stevenson has a few defensive moves. The first one, if you have power, is to simply move back constantly. He was doing that the first few rounds. When he got comfortable and felt that Artem didn't have anything left on his punches, after Artem was doing all that head movement and got tired, then what he does is he stays in the pocket and he's good at catching the winging, the looping right hand with this. If you throw a straight right hand, he deflects it like this. Artem really didn't throw many left hooks, but when he does, he just simply leans back like this, or he parries and catches like this. But what he doesn't do is any of these things and throw shots after. He doesn't slip and bam. He doesn't really do a whole lot of that. He simply does it. It's not a knock against him. He has several defensive moves, and if your argument is he doesn't have to slip a lot, that's fine. I have no problem with that argument, but he doesn't slip a lot. It is what it is. And Shakur is a very, 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 very defensive fighter, meaning he goes into a ball similarly to what I've said about Devin Haney. He does not throw a lot out of his defensive stance. And once you finish throwing, then he looks to see where he can throw, and he throws. Boom, boom. But it's always going to be 1 to 2 shots, because if he do more, then that opens him up for counter. So it's work. Okay. Bam, bam. Okay, back to defense. Oh, he ain't doing nothing. Bam, bam. Oh, he's throwing. Lean back, or I catch it, and he has great instincts to catch those shots. That's who he is. That's what he does. Yeah. But as far as like being something like Floyd, and again, Antonio Tarver. Yeah. So that was me a week or so ago talking about this same topic. Simply put, he goes into a ball, and I mentioned this in the Discord, that he does not throw shots. He becomes very defensive, similar to what we've seen out of Devin Haney. He just doesn't throw. When someone is throwing at him, he doesn't throw, right? So that's the reason why I just felt like all this notion about he can't beat Tank on like how he's beaten other opponents. They're not going to give him rounds against Tank the way that he's fought opponents in the past. That's not going to work. So that's the reason why I made those comments. And now Tim Bradley is saying the same thing. And some people are like, oh, well, Tim Bradley wasn't saying this before. But you heard Sean Zattel talk about this. When you get additional data points, then you can change your opinion, right? You use those additional data points to form your opinion of what's going to happen. And only a fool will stay and stick with what they were thinking before, when additional data would suggest that their theory before is not correct. So it is what it is. But, I've said this, and now Tim Bradley has said this. Maybe he's saying it also because, Shakur Stevenson is not on Top Rank anymore. And so he doesn't have to be a company man as it relates to Shakur Stevenson. Maybe that's the case. I don't know. But we'll see what ends up happening in this situation. I'm glad Tim Bradley is starting to break some of these things down fairly. Let us know what you think in the comment section. Don't forget to hate, like, comment, and subscribe. This is the Angry Man Podcast, AM Sports Media, and I am out.